Hello and welcome to Keys and Decor, the podcast where we talk all things home, buying, decorating, and making your space feel like your sanctuary. I'm your host, Latoya Cooper, a realtor and former marketing professional who's passionate about helping you navigate the journey from house to home. All right, so welcome back. Today we're going to talk about a really important topic, really big topic, and that is balancing the must-haves with the nice-to-haves when you're home searching, when you're in your home search, okay? Sometimes it can be very confusing, and sometimes they confuse the two. Basically what you're balancing are your wants and your needs. That's what it comes down to, but it's easy to, for the lines to be blurred because it's such an exciting time, and sometimes you don't really learn about what you want, or you don't really know what's out there until you start looking, and then you start getting ideas for I want this, and maybe that's not something that should be a priority. But let's just get into it, okay? Now first, let's discuss the difference. We've kind of touched on it, but basically your must-haves are things that are non-negotiable. All right, those are things like number of bedrooms. If you're a family of four, then a 3-bedroom is probably a non-negotiable. You need at least 3 bedrooms. But when it comes to the nice to haves, those are things that would be nice, of course. They're desirable, but they're not deal breakers. They're not things that will necessarily have a negative impact on your lifestyle, okay? For instance, if you hear the click-clacking on the floor, that's the dog walking through. For instance, if you want a gourmet kitchen, that's nice to have. I would love that too, but it's probably not a must-have. But also know that depending on where you are in life in general, that's going to that's going to inform your list a lot, okay? Because young professionals, they have different needs than maybe retirees. So just know that depending on what stage you are in life, that's going to determine a lot of what your needs will be, okay? So I just want to take a short moment to just reflect and just think for a moment about what would be on your must-have list. So I just want you to take maybe a good minute and just jot down a few things that come to mind initially when you think about the things that would be on your list. And it's not a full list, we're just jotting down a few ideas, and these ideas are going to kind of help to jumpstart the actual list. All right, so feel free to pause this for a minute or just write down a few things that come to mind quickly. But I want to, once you have a few things written down, I want to do a quick exercise. And this is something that you can do when you have more time if you like. But what I want you to do is just picture yourself in your day-to-day. This is a visualization exercise. If you like, close your eyes and just picture yourself from the time you wake up and just go all the way through your day. And just think about what are some of the things that you need to make your routine run smoother. Okay, what are some of the things that you need? That's where the starting point is going to be. Okay, these are the things that you're going to put on your list. For instance, if you work from home a lot, then a home office, that's going to be something that will help your routine to run smooth, right? So that may be something you put on your list. If you have pets, if you have a dog, maybe it's important to have a fenced-in backyard so that they can run around freely. So just think about your day, visualize your day, and just make notes of the things that you need to make your life smooth. And I want you to write them down. Don't try to just remember in your head. I know sometimes I'm guilty of it as well. When someone says, well, think about this, think about that, I just try to just think about it in my head real quick, or if I'm reading a book, and I just try to keep it in my head, but write it down. Okay, you're gonna need it actually. So go ahead, write it down, but also write down everything that comes to mind and make sure that you categorize it. So put it in either the must have side of your list or put it on the nice to have side of your list. All right. But go ahead and put it where it goes. Now, I want to get real with you for a moment. And I know this is not something that anyone wants to hear, but I do want to make sure that that you have proper expectations when it comes to the home buying or the home hunting process when it comes to your needs and wants. But depending on the market, is a possibility that you may not get everything that is on your wish list. But that's okay. That's okay. Because in competitive markets, homes sell really fast, and sometimes buyers do have to compromise just so that they can get a home within their budget. So now, right now in the triangle, I wouldn't exactly consider it to be a competitive market right now. But if you live in a different area, it may be something that you are experiencing. I have a client relocating from Ohio, and apparently they said that the market is hot in Ohio. And the market could, of course, change here as well, going into the spring and summer. So, but I just wanted to kind of prepare you that when the market is competitive, that sometimes you do have to compromise to get a home that's within your budget. But having your list, this will actually help to make the process a little bit easier because you have a clear layout and you can look at where you can compromise. It's easier to see, and it's better than just going into a house and just saying, oh, well, it doesn't have this. I don't know. Can I can I not can I live without this? Like it's easier than to have it spurring on you and to have to make a decision in the moment. Because as you're house hunting, you're going to see what's available. You're going to see what's on the market, what's available, and so you'll be able to prepare and to know, at a certain point that okay, well, this is definitely a must have, but maybe we can compromise by doing this. You have to know the trade off. And there are some things that you just cannot compromise on. Like, for instance, if you are a family of four, if you need 3 bedrooms, I mean, you can't compromise on that. But what I always say is to focus on location and focus on layout. Focus on those two first because those are the two things that you can't easily change. Well, location, you're not going to be able to change that at all. But yeah, focus on those two first, okay? Because maybe you want to be closer to work, but the house that you want has let's say it has the extra guest bedroom that you want, but it's a little bit further from work than what you would like. So you have to kind of think about what you're trading off and what makes sense for you. If you don't want to trade off that extra distance, then don't. And you can always find other ways to to compromise and to stay within your budget. But just keep that in mind that the realities of the marketplace. You never know, depending on what it's like. You may have to be flexible, but I promise you that having your list written out will make it so much easier if you do find yourself needing to compromise, okay? All right, so now before we go into the next half of this segment, I just want to stop for a quick ad. So I'll try to keep it to a minute. And this ad is sponsored by Latoya Cooper, Realtor. So I want to tell you a story for this ad, a quick story. So a few years ago, probably about 10 years ago, my husband and I, that's when we initially kind of became interested in home ownership. And so, of course, we didn't know anything about it. So I believe what we did was we found a house that we liked and we just called the realtor that was on it. I think is what happened. And because when I called her, she kept saying that she was either a buyer's agent or seller's agent. She kept stressing it, but at that time I didn't even understand what she meant. And so at one point in the conversation, I was like, okay, I said, well, listen, we're first-time home buyers and we don't know anything about buying a home. So we just need someone to help us and to walk us through it. Whatever you tell us to do, we'll do it. We just need somebody to guide us because we don't have a clue. She said, okay. I told her I had been doing some research and I saw that we may qualify for FHA loan with down payment assistance, which would be very helpful for us. So she tells me that, well, it's really hard to get an offer accepted with the FHA loan. And she asked me, had I considered a conventional loan? And I said, well, I hadn't because, my research hadn't really taken me there, but I would be open to finding out about it. And so she gave me the information for a lender. Not someone that she knew personally. It was just a bank to call. So I called and got all the information and reported back to her that, I spoke with them about the conventional loan. And there's no way that we qualify for that right now. But, they did bring up FHA loans as well and that we may qualify for that, right now. And I remember like yesterday, she said, okay, all right, so let me tell you, she said, I'm in the middle of something. Let me call you right back. I said, okay. And we never heard back. She totally ghosted us, even though I told her, just tell us what to do. We're trying to figure it out. We never heard back from her. So as a realtor, when I became a realtor, like that situation has always stuck in my mind. And as a realtor, I've always made it my goal to be the total opposite of what she was to us. It is my goal and my mission to be the type of realtor that we needed at that point in our lives. So if you're looking for a realtor who is patient, one who is resourceful, and one who will guide you through the process without rushing, give me a call. 984-960-9514, or I can be emailed at latoya.cooper@exprealty.com. All right, so now that is done, let's go ahead and get into the second part of this podcast episode. We're going to talk about managing the emotional attachment that can come with the home hunting process, okay? Staying grounded during these home tours, because you can go into some of these homes, and especially ones that are staged, it's easy to get excited because I'm telling you, when you first start looking at homes, you'll begin to see things and you'll get a better understanding of what you like and what you're looking for. And it's easy to get excited about things that you don't even need, okay? For instance, you go into a home, you go into the master bath and you see this beautiful standing tub, and it's just so beautiful. And it's like, oh my goodness, you get so excited because of this tub and you fall in love with the home because of the tub. But if you do a reality check, you'll remember that you don't even take tub baths like that. Like, you maybe take one, maybe once or twice a year. So not important when it comes to the big scheme of things. So it's okay to get excited, but let your list be a grounding tool, okay? One that helps you to just stay grounded during the process. And one tip, before you start your home tours, each day that you're going on a tour, you're going on a tour on Saturday morning, before you start that tour, take a look at your list, okay? Go over it again so that you have a clear idea of what your priorities are and what you're looking for, okay? Now, if you find a home and you're like, okay, this might be the one. I feel like you kind of feel it when it's the one, but you can definitely ask yourself these 3 questions that kind of help you with that decision. Number 1, does the home meet my must-haves? Everything on your must-have list, does it meet those? How does the home fit into my lifestyle? How does it fit into your lifestyle? And can you see yourself living there long term? Just ask yourself that. And if you can say yes, and you can see how it fits into your life, and it meets your must-haves, even if it doesn't meet all of your nice-to-haves, then don't rule it out, okay? Do not rule that house out. All right. Now, let's talk about when to adjust the list, because there are times when you may need to adjust your list. One big sign is, you're out and about searching and you're realizing that the things that you need just aren't necessarily they're not in your budget. The homes just that have what you need, they're outside of your budget. So that's one big clue that you may need to either be more flexible or you may need to expand your budget, which we know that that's not always the case. But there's always the option to pause and wait until you do have a larger budget. It's kind of up to you. All right. But even though you want to remain flexible, this dog is being distracting today. Even though you want to remain flexible, you still want to stay true to your core values. All right. So you don't necessarily have to always compromise. I don't believe that. It may mean that you have to wait a little bit longer, but you definitely never have to compromise if you absolutely don't want to. Stay true to what you really need in a home. But if home ownership is a goal and you want to go ahead and begin building equity, then it does help to be flexible, okay? And of course, with the market, sometimes being flexible is helpful in just helping you to find a home within your budget in general, okay, depending on the situation. All right, so, and there's some things that you can't, be flexible with, we know that. But let's say you want an extra bedroom because you want a home gym, but so that will put you needing a 4-bedroom when really the 3 bedrooms are more in your budget. Maybe you compromise, and instead of needing that extra room for a gym, maybe you look at, well, there's a state-of-the-art gym maybe 5 minutes away. Maybe I can, that's in the budget, a gym membership, or the park has really good fitness amenities. So just kind of think about, there's some things that you can adjust, and when you need to, pull from your list, have your realtor help you, and make a plan. So we want to make things easier when you're searching. So, when you are on, let's say, Zillow or Realtor.com, make sure that you're using the filters features to kind of help you to search for homes that have the things that you need. Okay, so take advantage of that so that you can, so that you're looking at homes that at least at the minimum have the things that you absolutely need that are non-negotiable. All right, so to wrap up, finding the perfect home is really about balance, because you have to know your non-negotiables, but also be adaptable, be willing to be flexible, and just be open to possibilities, okay? Trust yourself, trust the process, and remember that there's no such thing as the perfect home, but there is the perfect home for you. When we moved here, this home is not perfect, but it's perfect for us. When we toured it, it wasn't the first home we toured, and it wasn't the last home that we toured, but When we came here, when we toured this home, I knew that it was the one. And it's not perfect. We saw imperfections then, and there are still imperfections now, but those are things that we can fix. When it comes to location and layout, I told you, make those your priority. Those are not things that you can change. But when it comes to the cosmetic and making it pretty and the extras and the embellishments, those are things that you could add later. All right. So don't let the lack of those type of things stop you from getting what could be an amazing forever home. But not every home is a forever home. Maybe it's your starter home and you can be there some years and then sell and then find your perfect dream home, forever home. Well, thank you so much for listening or watching, for both. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend who is starting their home buying journey. Make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already, because that does help the podcast to pop up for more people to see. Okay? Until next time, stay mindful, stay inspired. Happy home, honey.